'tis the day after Super Bowl Sunday. The wheel in the sky keeps on turning, and so does the sports world. Welcome to Game Day Scoreboard on CBS Sports HQ. My name's Russ Thaler. Philly area schools set to close on Friday, making way for that Eagles victory parade. The city of brotherly love still buzzing from the beatdown in the Big Easy. The two-time defending champs never got out of the gates in Super Bowl 59, 24-0 at the half, 40-22 when it was all over. But the road to get to a second Lombardi in franchise history was anything but straightforward, which makes this particular Victory Monday all the more special.
As crazy as this sounds, I'm grateful how last year ended because it shaped us to who we are today and where we're standing today. And the adversity at the beginning of the year, and the adversity through the season, through injuries, through ups and downs, through everything. I think that when you embrace adversity, it does something to you, right? It does something to you personally, right? Each and every individual on that football team, you know, the adversity does something to you, and it does something to you as a football team as well.
When it's all said and done for me, I won't measure my success off of any numbers of statistics or passing yards or touchdowns or anything like that. I measure it off of rings and championships.
And Jalen Hurts joins a distinguished group of QBs who lost their first Super Bowl, but came back to win one, or more than one. Hall of Famers all, except Jalen, of course, and none of these guys, or any other QB in NFL history for that matter, scored 7 total touchdowns in his first 2 Super Bowl appearances, like this Eagles QB. And as we say hello to the NFL offseason, we're joined by CBS Sports NFL writer Tyler Sullivan. Tyler, everyone's coming for the crown now. Starting right now, in fact, the Commanders were the last to fall in the NFC. Who's in the best spot to challenge the Eagles for supremacy in 25?
Yeah, I think you referenced it right there. I would say the Washington Commanders and the Detroit Lions are still those 2 teams that you have to look at if you're the Philadelphia Eagles and say, they're going to be gunning for us. And they now know that they are not the hunted anymore. They are hunting someone, which sometimes makes it a little bit easier. Of course, Philadelphia is going to have to handle now being the hunted, being the top dog, the defending champion in that conference. And you're going to be looking at 2 teams, the Washington Commanders and the Detroit Lions, who are going to do everything in their power over the next few weeks and months to try to get better, to eventually get one over on the Philadelphia Eagles. We're going to talk about the Detroit Lions possibly getting in the mix for a guy like Myles Garrett. If they're able to acquire someone of his caliber, that changes the dynamic tremendously, on top of getting Aiden Hutchinson back. Then you talk about the Washington Commanders in their own division. They'll see them twice a year, and they're a team that I think could really rebuild quickly. Of course, they were just in the NFC Championship, but in terms of retooling that roster, the 3rd most cap space in the NFL, and do not underestimate the aura around Jaden Daniels. With all of that cap space, they're going to be able to attract a lot of talent to go to Washington to play with Jaden Daniels, making them that much more dangerous as he goes into year 2.
Wouldn't mind seeing Eagles Commanders on opening night of the NFL season. I'm just going to throw that out there. First time in 3 years, the Chiefs, they're chasing. What did the Eagles expose that Casey needs to address this offseason?
Well, a couple of things. First and foremost, and that was utterly apparent in this game, was the offensive line. And we kind of knew that this was an issue for the Kansas City Chiefs. When you have your all-pro left guard Joe Thuney needing to kick out to left tackle, you know some things aren't going particularly right. And that's been a blind spot for them at the NFL draft over the last few years. They've been able to draft well. You talk about bringing in Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Trent McDuffie, go down the line. They've been able to bring in some talented players. George Karlaftis on the defensive side of the ball. The one area where they really haven't been able to do it, and they've spent significant capital, day 2 picks in consecutive years, is identifying some starting tackles. They haven't really been able to do it. So to me, that's the #1 priority this offseason for the Kansas City Chiefs. The problem is financially, they got right now $11.5 million in cap space. Of course, you can restructure, but you might have a little bit of financial constraints. So we could talk about bringing in potentially Ryan Ronnie Stanley or other free agent tackles that are coming in. But it's going to be interesting to see the financial flexibility that they have, and possibly do they have to use that 31st pick at the NFL draft at a tackle at low cost.
All right, so now the Eagles and Chiefs, they regroup. They'll try to run it back again. Every other team is trying to get back to that as we look forward now towards Super Bowl 60, which is amazing. Which players are going to which teams in the offseason has become a big talking point. Deebo Samuel is a guy that everybody's going to have eyes on. Coming out of San Francisco, the Niners have given him permission to seek a trade out of the Bay. The Niners are looking for a landing spot. What they can get, we'll see. But Samuel himself was asked recently about a team that could make a big leap in 2025. His answer was telling to Bleacher Report. He said, quote, "I can say Denver. Bo Nix is playing really, really good ball now. Their defense is outrageous. You got P2, that's Patrick Surtain II, out there who's, I would say, the best at the position right now, probably been for the past 2 years. I just think you need a couple of more pieces, and it'll be what it needs to be. Just have to get past Patrick Mahomes every year." It's quite a no, by the way. Tyler, he's not wrong about the Broncos. What's the trade market, though, for Deebo Samuel look like, and where could you see him end up?
Yeah, I mean, I could just sit back and listen to Deebo. He's got the analysis right there. That's pretty good because Denver's a really good fit. I do think that he's wise to point that out. You look at what Sean Payton has been able to do with players like Deebo Samuel, those kind of gadgety type of players, what we've seen with Deebo over the last few years in San Francisco as a wide receiver, then working out of the backfield. That feels like a guy that should be in a Sean Payton offense, right? That feels like Taysom Hill on steroids, if we could use that example. It just feels like that to me is one of those pieces that he could use, Sean Payton. He even talks about it. He said recently they're looking for that joker, what they call in their offense, that joker position, which is basically what I just said. One of those guys that they can exploit matchups, use him out of the backfield, use him as a receiver, really use him as a chess piece. So putting him with Sean Payton, I think, would be absolutely fascinating. And this is a receiver that just turned 29 years old, still should have years in front of him, and more importantly, and you see it right here, Bo Nix was coming off a tremendous rookie season. It got overshadowed because of the brilliance of Jaden Daniels, but we're talking about a quarterback in the first round that was able to take his team in year one to the playoffs, and it doesn't feel like that hype is around Bo Nix as much as it should. What the Denver Broncos need to do this offseason, because they have that defense that Deebo Samuel was talking about, because they have a young quarterback on his rookie contract, what you do with that cheat code in terms of having that quarterback on his rookie deal, you surround him with as much talent as humanly possible. So if Deebo is looking at you, you better look back and try to acquire him.
Day after the Super Bowl, and the beat goes on. The beat goes on. The road to Super Bowl 60 begins right now. Tyler Sullivan, thank you so much. And just like the wheel on the HQ keeps on spinning, so does our coverage of the NFL. Day or night, from breaking news to the combine, the draft, and into and through the season, CBS Sports HQ has the NFL covered, and we're doing it. We're doing it for you.